Hi, I'm Igor Rijinovic, and this is part 2 of the DaVinci Resolve API scripting tutorial where I show you how to use a joystick with Resolve. If you haven't seen part 1, where we play an 80s arcade style game in Resolve, you have to watch it first because we will be building on top of what we learned there. In this part, we'll use the joystick to do pan and scan. What's pan and scan? You can find out more about it here, but in a nutshell, it's a process where we move the widescreen picture to fit into a more restrictive aspect ratio. It's used for social videos nowadays, but frankly, pan and scan is a lot older than Facebook, TikTok, and even older than high-def video. See, if I load the 9:16 version of this timeline, the picture doesn't fit quite right. Most people use the inspector to translate it into a better position. Personally, I use the color panels, and I think that's the best way to do pan and scan in Resolve. But if you don't have the panels, using an inexpensive joystick may be a good alternative. Let me show you what this little script I wrote does. We can use these two buttons to switch from 9:16 to 1:1 and back. Moving the joystick to the left or right pans the picture. Once we're happy with the placement, I pull the trigger to advance to the next shot. I can reset the position at any time by clicking the center button, and if I want to go back to the previous shot, I click the left button. The main loop in the script that I'll show you is infinite, and if I want to quit out of the script, I press this button at the base of the joystick. Let's step through the Python script. I have disabled these two lines because we ran the script internally from the Resolve drop-down menu. In that case, the Resolve instance already exists. We don't have to make it ourselves. The SIMPT module is my timecode arithmetic module, and you can get it on GitHub. This block of code is similar to what we saw in part 1, except there's a new line here. We use get item list and track to retrieve the current Resolve timeline items from video track 1 as a list. Lists are ordered in Python, and our list will be ordered in the order of the clips on the timeline. Here we make an instance of the SIMPT class, and if the current Resolve timeline is drop frame, we also set up the instance for the drop frame calculations. The Pygame block is the same as what we had in the 80s arcade game from part 1. Then we scroll down, skipping these two functions, and at the bottom we see that we launched the main loop function first. We first get the instance of the timeline item, which is currently under the Resolve playhead. This here handles the picture pan position reset, just in case we don't like our pan position and want to put it back in the default position. If we press the joystick button 1, we go to the timeline item on the left. If we press 3, which is the trigger, we go to the item on the right. The transport is actually handled in this function called goToItem. We call it with the instance of the current video item and direction of the movement in a string, left or right. Here's the goToItem function. Let's walk down. We run getStart to get the record side timecode for the current timeline item. This while loop will iterate our previously made timeline items list until it finds the instance of the current item that we're on, that the playhead is on. We figure that out by comparing these two timecodes. When they don't match, we advance to the next item in the list by increasing the index counter by 1. When they do match, we evaluate the desired left or right direction that we supply to the function, and then make and assign the instance of the previous or the next timeline item to a variable called QItem. We get the timecode of QItem, but since Resolve returns timecode as a frame count, we first use our SIMPT module to convert it to properly formatted timecode, and then supply that timecode string as an argument to set current timecode. This Resolve method will move the playhead to that timecode. A confusing thing here is that getStart returns an integer of the timecode frame count. The set current timecode requires SIMPT timecode formatted as a string. It's just a little inconsistency in the API. Now that we know how goToItem function works, we go back to the line where we called it from, and that was this short block of code that reads the state of buttons 0 and 3, which we used to move to the next or the previous clip. Then we have this block where we read the state of buttons 9 and 10. The joystick button 9 will set the current project to 1:1 aspect ratio, as you can see here, 1080 width and 1080 height. The button 10 will set the current project to 9:16 aspect ratio, see here, 1080 and 1920. We read the joystick position here and we use it to pan the current video item here. Like in part 1, we have a custom formula that provides good ballistics as we move the joystick to the left or to the right. The rest of the function is the same as what we had in part 1. We can quit by pressing the joystick button 6. If we don't quit, the joystick control will continue working until we load a new timeline. At that time, we'd have to run the script again. Thank you for watching this tutorial on connecting and using a joystick with DaVinci Resolve. You can download the scripts used in parts 1 and 2 of this tutorial at my GitHub page. To see more of my Resolve coding work, visit metafy.com.